Welcome to Halifax.
Getting drunk from 7 to 3. Overindulged in flesh like it's free. We're on a fast ride where monkeys killing time with machines. Making love that we don't even feel. You don't even notice if it's her or it's me. But somewhere deep in it's cutting like a knife, so you just kill it with that one. All of a sudden you are free. You call your mom and say, hey, it's me. I just need some more mommy money. I'm gonna spend it. You feeling with my house, my face, my body, and my tongue, 'cause I just wanna feel good. Using all that's left somewhere in your chest, on your sweetheart hit a mist. Uh-oh. Somewhere in your chest, somewhere in your chest, using all that's left. Somewhere in your chest, all your sweetheart hidden is. Oh, oh. All that's left, 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 all that's
Innovation is in our veins. Soon the whole world will know our names. Sharing our knowledge and freedom reign. We here for the people, you know it's our way. Setting foundations is part of the dream. It doesn't matter if you're new to the game. Listen up now, cause we all gon' say, ugh. Elevate, 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 higher. Elevate, 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 higher. We gon' rise up, we all gon' shine. Work through adversity, stay on the grind. Elevate, elevate, this is our time. Elevate, elevate.
Well, good morning, Calgary. So great to be back on with you from off location, not in studio, as was warned. We talked about it. I am here in Calgary at the convention for the convention this weekend, Thursday through Saturday. It's going to be electric. It's going to be fun. We're going to see what's going on. I'm excited. I'm happy to be on with you from my hotel room. I'm looking down at you, which I hate. This is like the criminal sin when it comes to doing any type of production, is never put the camera below your eye level. However, I have not found a way to raise my camera up so it is at eye level so I can talk to you up here rather than down here. So I promise I don't look down on you. I'm not Mark Carney. I'm not a liberal. I do truly believe in you guys. I truly do love you guys. This is not a power move. I'm broke. I'm broke. That's the reality. That's why we're here. I'm happy to be on with you guys. We have a lot to discuss. Obviously, we're going to be kind of going through what happened, the headlines yesterday, what's happening into today. Keir Starmer of the UK saying, "You're alone, Mark Carney," and almost every other nation's like, yeah, quietly. That Davos was fun. You got the rock star treatment. Everyone loved you, but now like the reality setting in, and we don't want what you have. We don't want what you want. So Canada, enjoy those USMCA CUSMA renegotiations, because we're not getting involved. Carney is all alone. We're going to be getting into that, as well as the city of Surrey, BC, calling an emergency, state of emergency because, well, crime has gotten so out of control, and the proxy war or I said alleged proxy war of India and Khalistan is now just in the streets of Surrey. Hot. It's a hot conflict right now. And so we'll be discussing that and so much more because, well, Canadians who are in their right mind are like, yeah, what Carney's doing is not great. Davos was cool. I felt Canadian. I felt patriotic for a bit. But now the reality of like what he did is now setting in, and we're not liking this. We're not liking this one bit. So here's the thing, folks. Before we get into it, like the stream, share it with your friends, get in the chat, talk about everything with the homies. Hit me up with how you're feeling. We're happy to have you on with us. Then second thing is, I hope my audio is working. I hope the video is working. I hope everything is making sense here, because obviously I'm doing my mobile studio. I'm on the go here. I'm hoping things are working out, but at the minute you're just like, audio's not working, or that shouldn't be happening the way it is, the only feedback I have is you guys in the chat right now. So if you can't hear something, you are not feeling something's not right, just throw it in the chat, because they're probably likely, in all likelihood, is not working. It's not working. So I'm excited to see all you guys in the chat. You guys are electric. This is looking good. I'm hoping the Wi-Fi internet here at the hotel holds up. That's my prayer for making this all work this morning. But let's get into it, folks. We have a lot to discuss. So first off, last night was fun. I enjoyed myself last night. So last night, the folks, we got together and we are enjoying. I'm sorry. David Orward, 9168, drops a $70 super chat on the show saying, "You're not broke anymore." I appreciate it. Now I can go get a stand. This is awesome. But last night went out to the Guild here in Calgary, Alberta. Justin Tucker of Great Northern Discussions hosted all of us, and it was a fantastic time. We enjoyed ourselves. Lots of talk, lots of, well, what's going to happen this weekend? What's going on with the conservative movement? What's going on with the Alberta independence? Like, a lot of that conversation was happening around the table, and it was fantastic, and we enjoyed ourselves very much so. And so that was a good time last night. And so we'll probably see more photos and videos throughout the weekend with other people, which we're really looking forward to doing. But this caught my eye yesterday, of course. David Eby and the whole host of premieres hopping into CBC studios yesterday, just saying, Mark Carney's Davos speech was so beautiful. I brought a tear to my eye. So here we go. Let's go, David Eby.
Canadian that saw the Prime Minister's remarkable speech in Switzerland, and I found it very inspiring and patriotic, and I was really proud of being Canadian in that moment. You know, I think everyone who saw it was like, man, we're going to feel consequences from the Americans on this, but it had to be said. And the direction has to be set, and we have to do it with other countries, so we have to be clear and public about that. I support the Prime Minister's direction. We've got his back in British Columbia on this, and we're doing our part to help drive it with our own major projects. You know, we had $3 billion in new mines reach final investment decision in the last 30 days in our province, and that's shipping to international markets and creating jobs and opportunity for Canadians. So we'll do our part. The Prime Minister's got to be out there building new partnerships with India, with China, with other countries, and diversifying. Impossible to replace the American market. This is a sensitive thing, but we also have to speak our truth as Canadians, and I support the Prime Minister in that.
I'm already annoyed at that last one. We're going to speak our truth. All right, what's our truth, David Eby? What is our truth? The truth is, it is the 75 to 80% trading partner of the United States. Is that just is that a figment of our imagination? I'm curious. What's our truth in this case? Man, that's such ridiculous. I hate that language so much. That's just a personal preference. However, David Eby getting in and saying, man, that Davos speech was beautiful. Felt patriotic, felt Canadian. And we're getting things shipped out of BC here. Life's good. Is it good? Because we heard what's going on in Surrey, BC. It's not looking too hot, dude. Not looking too hot, but whatever. We'll get to that later. But David Eby saying, wow, Mark Carney's awesome. So that was, the theme from yesterday. Tim Houston, Premier of Nova Scotia, saying the same thing. Oh, it's beautiful.
I was impressed by the speech, and I was proud of the speech. And I think some of the things that are happening and some of the things we're seeing said as a result of that are proving that the speech was necessary, to be honest. But there, you know, I say my job is often whack-a-mole. Like you try to push something down and it pops up somewhere else. And certainly the Prime Minister's job is that times. So we understand that. But I think the points he made in Davos were absolutely true, and they needed to be said. But we can acknowledge the reality and still work towards a better place. And that's
we can acknowledge the reality. He said, sorry. Before that, he said there's things he said that were great. I'm curious, Tim Houston, what were the points that you agreed with? What were the points that you thought was necessary? Genuinely interested into hearing your perspective on this. And quite frankly, what I find the most fascinating, and this is now coming from someone who's living in Nova Scotia, who's been under the governing authority of Tim Houston in the province of Nova Scotia. This is the first public appearance I've seen of our premier in months. This is the first time I've seen him, and it was on CBC. We have not seen him around the province too often. He's not showing up at the places he typically shows up at much anymore. We're wondering where he's at. I thought he was dead. I was like, do we still have a premier here in Nova Scotia? I had to put an APB out for that brother. I don't know where he went. Nice to show he showed him Power and Politics to glaze Mark Carney's speech in Davos. That was nice. But again, this was the trend we're seeing with these premiers, and different, almost every premier has come out and said, this was a great speech, Davos. It was impressive. Polyev, gave kudos where it needed to be given. He's like, yeah, it was a good speech, nice speech, well thought out speech. However, rhetoric and reality, how's that going? Can we help out with that? And that's a whole host of other issues. But what I found fascinating is it's the support from everyone in Canada on this. Oh, the Davos speech was great. And as I said on this show, it was an impressive speech. However, speeches don't make us do better. Speeches don't make Canadians do better. Speeches don't make Canadians more wealthy. Speeches don't bring Canadians out of poverty. Speeches don't lower the usage of food banks across our country. No. But hey, let's talk about the speech. So what's been happening here, and what I've been seeing is, saw yesterday throughout the news and into today, is, wow, man, Mark Carney sticking it to Donald Trump, standing up for Canadian values. It's awesome. And it seems like that is starting to wear off, at least for those outside of our country. For those outside of Canada, that's wearing off now, because the reality of what Mark Carney has done is starting to set in. This story broke on Politico yesterday. Starmer to Carney. No new world order, please. We're British. UK leader says he's a British pragmatist, applying common sense after Canadian counterpart called for mid-sized countries to team up in the era of Trump. This was a fascinating article, folks. So, as we know, Keir Starmer is going over to China, as many other world leaders are going into China lately. And he's going to go have a conversation. And, this whole article talks about, Mark Carney's speech, middle powers coming together, this, that, the other. And right here, it says, Starmer was pressed on those remarks on board his flight to China Tuesday. Asked whether he agreed that the old global order is dead and whether smaller powers need to team up to push back at the U.S. and China, Starmer defended his own policy of trying to build bridges with Trump, Xi, and European Union all at once. I do find that a little bit a disingenuous take here in this article, where it says, we got to push back against the U.S. and China. No. Carney was very clear that was, he didn't, and so, any less words, it was about America that had nothing to do with China. But we continue. Starmer said this, I'm a pragmatist. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? A British pragmatist, applying common sense, and therefore I'm pleased that we have a good relationship with the U.S. on defense, security, intelligence, and on trade and prosperity, he says. It's very important that we maintain that good relationship. He added, equally, we are moving forward with a better relationship with the EU. We had a very good summit last year with 10 strands of agreement. We'll have another summit this year with the EU, while I hope it will be iterative, as well as following through on what we've already agreed. And I've consistently said I'm not choosing between the US and Europe. I'm really glad that the UK has got good relations with both. And that was fascinating, wasn't it? Mark, we have the likes of Starmer, who's kind of like, we're good. Not really interested in this whole, workers of the world unite stuff. happening here as leaders over here. It was fascinating to kind of see all this transpire and go through it. And that was Starmer's take for the most part. Was, yeah, cool. That's good for Carney. We're going to continue having great relations with the U.S. We're going to continue having great relationships with the EU. And we're good just doing our own thing, honestly, at this point in time. We don't need to do any type of middle powers unite or, poke the bear on the United States or poke the bear of the EU. We're good. We're going to keep being the UK and living our own life over here. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do this at all. So this was an interesting moment where now we're starting to see a world leader publicly distance himself from the likes of what Mark Carney did in Davos. Mark Carney was being praised for the past couple weeks on how awesome his speech was. This was great. And now the reality of, well, the United States has made their perspective clear on how they view Mark Carney and what he's currently doing. And the likes of Keir Starmer's like, yeah, we're going to do our own thing over here. And it's fascinating coming from the leader of the UK, who that's where Mark Carney came from. And he's like, yeah, we're good. We have a good relations with the United States. We have good relations with the EU, and we're going to continue doing that. We're not doing this whole whatever that was in Davos. Cool speech, though. It was a nice speech. So this is a big moment because now what happens next? The UK saying, which is a significant middle power, saying, yeah, we're good. We're all right over here. We have a great relationship with the United States. We love our deal with the United States, and we're going to keep it that way here, folks. We are going to keep it that way. And I actually, it was this first paragraph is what I was missing. It says, Keir Starmer rejected his Canadian counterpart's call for mid-sized countries to band together in the face of unpredictable global powers and insisted his common-sense British approach will do just fine. Nationalism is winning out yet again. You're this whole globalist venture that these guys are on. Maybe we won't want to do that. It's starting to fracture. It's starting to see holes in it. And I think this is a good thing. At least in global politics, this is a good thing because we know that globalism isn't the best for all of us. However, and nationalism is good. We want global trade. We want to have good trade deals, and we want people to work together and help each other grow, but not a 90% globalist incentive or agenda to do that because, as we talked about before, going that route just hollows out your industry, hollows out your working class, ruins your middle class, and turns your country into a country of consumers rather than countries of makers. And that's the issue. And people are starting to realize the writing on the wall. Even the likes of Carney's leaning into more, and he's forced to, leaning into more nationalist-focused policy to be able to bolster things at home. And even so, Mark Carney's doing like the bum version of it, where he's like, oh, we're going to be our own best customer. Oh, okay. Gotcha. We're going to be our own best customer. Understood. And so seeing this article come out and seeing the tone starting to shift, this will be the first domino to fall of many, I'm sure. We're going to start seeing more interviews and keeping your eyes peeled for what other world leaders are saying or not saying. And they may not be as direct or as targeted as maybe Keir Starmer was here in this article. However, you're going to start hearing whispers and be like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to play good with the U.S. when, yeah, we're good. What I've understood, though, through all of this is that Mark Carney did a great job speaking in Switzerland and making Canadians, or at least the elbows up Canadians, feel like they're $1 million and that they're awesome and that Canada still matters on the global stage. But where are the results? What's going to happen? That's the question. That's the question that a lot of people are having, and that reality is now going to start setting in. I've been stunned of seeing, obviously, the lead that Carney's now getting in his the polls and things, and seeing how he's had a spike in approval. Mark Carney might just might erase a lot of the gains he's had inside the matter of a month at most of everything he's doing, because he's coming back and the reality is setting in. Seeing the grocery rebate and people being ticked off about that. I'm like, we don't want more money. We want prices to come down. Or the issue of affordability across the board. Housing is becoming an issue. And the words slowly people are going to start putting together that, oh my gosh, the words are not lining up with the rhetoric. And so what I understood yesterday, and the vibe that yesterday gave me with this political article, and Keir Starmer saying, yeah, it's nice, Mark Carney, but we're going to do something else. It kind of was, I felt like this next clip embodied everything. It's Mark Carney standing up saying something and everyone's saying, yeah, that's nice. Listen to this.
Guys, coach is right. If you want to win this, it's on us. Shut the fuck up.
That's Mark Carney right there. Guys, the coach is right. If we want to win this, we got to work together. Shut up. Keir Starmer from the back. Shut up. We don't watch you. And so that's what's happening right now, right? So that is fascinating. We saw this break yesterday, Scott Bessent's statement about the whole, like, Mark Carney said this, but you said that. What's happening? Mark Carney actually walked back his statement. And Scott Bessent, what I found with this interview is that he didn't really address, like, who's telling the truth, who's not. He just said, watch yourself. As you're going to USMCA and COSMA renegotiations and reviews, just watch yourself. And this, I didn't like the vibe of this. I'm being quite frank as a Canadian.
What about Canada? We've got a bit of a rift there lately, and there's different accounts between you and Prime Minister Mark Carney about that call this week post Davos with President Trump. He says that he dug in and reinforced the message. You said that he walked it back.
I was on the call. Prime Minister Carney, in my investment career, I've seen what happens when a technocrat tries to pivot and become a politician. It never really works out well. So I would just encourage Prime Minister Carney to do what he thinks is best for the Canadian people, not his own virtue signaling, because we do have a USMCA negotiation coming up. And he rose to power on an anti-American, anti-Trump message, and that's not a great place to be when you're negotiating with an economy that is multiple larger than you are and your biggest trading partner. In the end, I think we will end up in a good place. It may not be a straight line.
Are you saying that they will face consequences in these trade negotiations, reopening the USMCA?
I am saying that I would not pick a fight going into USMCA to score some cheap political points. Either you are working for your own political career or you're working for the Canadian people.
What about?
He states it right there. He said it multiple times now. Mark Carney, better be cautious. Better be cautious. He needs to start working for the Canadian people rather than for himself or his own political career. And he brought it very clear, as we all know, is the fact that Mark Carney, it ran on anti-American rhetoric. They know this. They're not stupid. As much as Canadians think Americans are stupid, they know what happened there. They know what's going on. And they said, that may not work for you this time, Mark Carney. And to do that going into a renegotiation of a major free trade agreement with your largest trading partner may not be a smart way to go. And the tone that Scott Bessent had here, the tone that Howard Lutnick had in Davos talking about this exact same issue, as a Canadian, has me worried that Mark Carney's at the helm right now. Because these guys are just like, all right, is that the route you want to go down? Okay, this sounds like a very bad idea, and you're going to screw over a whole country in the process. And this goes back to my point of why I never wanted and never voted for Mark Carney in the first place. Because he's not... I don't want to have this purity test, but he's not a Canadian first kind of guy. He's not been in the country. He wasn't in the country for close to 15 years before he came back for politics. He doesn't seem to really care for our country and care for our people. So naturally, he genuinely doesn't really care if he ends up, I don't know, using us as cannon fodder in his quest for dominance on the global stage in his own political career. So that's what worries me the most about this is Carney screwing around with our largest trading partner for the sake of looking a specific way. And Davos was clear cut for that, where, as I said, he was really confident, sounded really good, well-done speech because he was in front of his own people. Compare and contrast his speeches that he's even do his compare and contrast the speech he did at the grocery store when he was announcing the grocery rebate versus his Davos speech. Two different individuals. He's so uncomfortable talking to Canadians. He's so uncomfortable talking to the press here. But when he's in front of his globalist audience in Davos, oh man, he's back at home, baby. And that is the issue I'm currently having and what I'm really nervous about as we move forward. And so the story that broke in Juno News yesterday is giving me more concern for these types of conversations as we move forward. We have exclusive names matching Canadian politicians appear in anti-ICE protest donor leak. Leaked donation records from groups organizing anti-ICE protests appear to suggest that Canadian municipal politicians, union organizers, and academics are financially contributing to them. And what I thought was most interesting, they kind of laid it out here. It's no one's significant at the federal level yet that we know of. But it says the leaked donation record appears to include names identical to those of multiple elected officials, including one school trustee and one city councillor in BC. Other names donating to the cause were linked to the Canadian identities of a public service union regional representative, a McGill University professor, and a member of the Cowichan tribes. So, again, low-level politics, people being involved in this. However, we saw what happened when Donald Trump realized the reality of the Reagan ad that Ontario pulled and put in the United States, and he was upset for his own reasons for that. Because it was starting to mess with, at least what we heard from the ambassador, Pete Hoekstra, was that it was messing around with the politics in the United States. They didn't like that. So that's why Trump reacted the way he did, allegedly. Would you not say that this article lines in the very similar situation as messing around in the politics of America, where right now Donald Trump is essentially pulling ICE officials out of Minnesota now, and people are, a variety of people are seeing it as it is funny, where the left is mad at Tim Walz for, working with Trump to kind of crack down on this, and then people on the conservative side are mad at Trump for pulling out. There's a wide variety of issues around that whole thing. But some people really believe that, Trump back down. So and we know that Trump can tend to have bunny ears when it comes to like his own success and people talking about it. So who's to say that we have anti-ICE protest donors coming from Canada to the United States messing around with one of the more high-level stories that have happened in the past couple weeks? This may not turn out too well for Canadians in those USMCA and CUSMA renegotiations, where Trump has shown that as soon as Canada gets involved in their political matters, he gets frustrated, he gets annoyed. And when you're dealing with our largest free trade agreement, what's going to happen? And you have the likes of Kevin O'Leary, who seems to be very, very bullish on there's going to be a great deal. It's going to be this great union. This is all foreplay, as he said. This is all just kind of messing around, seeing who's going to do what. But trust me, this is a sign that there's going to be a great deal. And I'll be honest with you, Kevin O'Leary, or I'll be honest with you guys about that whole situation, is I hope he's right. I hope he's correct. I hope there's a great deal to be had. I'm not very confident right now based on what I'm seeing. Where again, we're seeing that struggle of globalism and nationalism, Trump versus everybody else. And Trump is willing to throw punches to protect his nation. And I don't feel like our leadership is willing to do the same thing. And what I mean by that is, they're throwing punches, but they're throwing barbs. They're being petty. They're being childish in how they're handling these issues. I want to see us try to get ourselves to a position of strength, like the likes of, Pierre Poilievre's talked about this quite a bit, where how about we really focus on developing our own industry, developing our own resources, developing all these other projects that are going on. Let's focus on getting that so we can get to a place of strength before we get to these negotiations, rather than the humming and hawing. It's like, look at Carney. He signed all these deals. He's done X, Y, and Z things. He's pushing these projects forward. They're going at a snail's pace. That's the problem, is he's on paper, what he's doing looks really good, but the reality is things aren't actually moving. That's the problem I have with that. And that's what problem a lot of people have, is he's giving a lot of lip service to the things that we want to hear. However, we're not seeing the results immediately. And then what you see now happening is the politicking that happens in the House of Commons, where, well, it's because the Conservatives are in the way. That's why nothing's getting done. That's why Carney's promises just can't come to fruition, because the Conservatives are in the way. And Conservatives are saying, how about you give us some real bills rather than bills that are just like, the headline looks great, but all the subtext in these bills are controlling, centralizing authority, this, that, the other. That doesn't seem like fun to us. We don't want to see that. So where this ends for us, I don't know. And so when we move to the Star article, which I thought was very well written, really well done, by Lucy Hargraves, it says why Mark Carney was wrong to provoke Donald Trump in Davos speech. And it was a good, solid article. And one thing that she brought up that I thought was a great focused statement was, I believe it was, here we are. In a polarized environment, anti-U.S. rhetoric is easy politics. It channels anxiety into defiance. It flatters a sense of moral distance. It turns economic risk into a story about toughness. Recent polling suggests that this framing resonates strongly with older Canadians in particular. In that context, standing up to Washington can become electorally rewarding, even when it complicates negotiations and weakens Canada's leverage. What plays well domestically, however, is not always in the national interest. My view of Canada-U.S. relations comes from lived experience. I spent several years living and working in the U.S., including as a Canada-U.S. Fulbright scholar and at a San Francisco-based startup. I saw firsthand how dependent Canada's economy is on a functional relationship across the border. Diversifying trade is prudent. Doing so while publicly antagonizing our largest trading partner is something else entirely. It is not realism, it is performance, and it echoes a pattern Canadians have seen before. This is why Carney's behavior this week is so concerning. It suggests that we are back where Trudeau left us, political leaders scoring anti-American points for partisan gain at the country's enormous detriment. Defending Canada's sovereignty cannot be done through speeches to friendly audiences overseas. It must be built through capacity, an economy that works, infrastructure that actually gets built, and institutions that can make decisions and follow through. Here, Canada continues to fall short. We struggle to build major projects on time. Regulatory processes sprawl without resolution. Investment competitiveness has slipped. Productivity growth continues to lag peer countries. These weaknesses matter enormously in a transactional world. Countries that cannot execute are easier to pressure, not harder. This is why turning Canada-U.S. relations into a stage for symbolic confrontation is such a costly gamble. It narrows our options at the moment. We most need flexibility. It may feel satisfying in a media environment primed for elbows-up rhetoric, but it does little for Canadian workers, businesses, or long-term prosperity. And that's what we call a smackdown. This was a very well-written article and very eloquently stated of the game that Carney is playing with all of our futures, playing with the future of our country. As I'm here in Calgary, in Alberta, heart of oil country, already having a lot of fascinating conversations with the perspectives of people out here. And that's my thing I love the most, doing what I do, is being able to travel. And you guys make that a reality for me. I get to do these things. I get to go travel. I get to go talk to people at other parts of the country and try to understand their perspectives, what's going on. And as someone who lived in Alberta for about 7 years, the first part of my life, yeah, I have an idea of the Alberta sentiment and how they feel. But as I got here on the ground all these years later, understanding that, it's gotten worse since I lived here in terms of the sentiment of we just do not identify with Canada any longer here, folks. And we don't like where this Liberal Party's taken us, and we don't feel like the Conservative Party's done enough for us. I'll be honest. We like Poilievre. Poilievre's a nice guy, but we just don't feel like the Conservative Party's done enough for us. And we are really struggling with if we should stay here or not. And that is where we are currently at. So that's the future Carney's playing with. And then obviously we're seeing the Quebec separatist sentiment growing in that province. And the future of our country, the unity of our country, Mark Carney's playing with the stupidity with what they're doing with the United States. Stupidity of I love that statement. I want to reread that because that was such a great point where she states that we are back to where we were before Trudeau left. We're back to just scoring cheap anti-American points for political gain and getting nothing done. Mark Carney is just another face of the same broken liberal playbook that works well here at home, but gets nothing done because you're channeling emotion, fear, and uncertainty. And that does nothing for anybody. And that does nothing for anybody. We continue moving forward. As I said, is doing nothing for anybody. Surrey, BC, calling a state of emergency. Wild.
And Surrey City Council is calling on Ottawa to declare the extortion crisis in Surrey a federal emergency. Mayor Brenda Locke brought forward the motion at a public hearing at City Hall last night, saying the crime and violence has escalated beyond local law enforcement's ability to respond.
We have to take a look at an awful lot of things to make sure we're doing this in a very holistic way, because this is absolutely just causing extreme concern, fear, and as has noted, alleged retaliation, and that is going to take us to another place.
So far this year, Surrey has recorded at least 35 reports of extortion-related shootings.
Yeah, we're going to go keep playing stupid games in the United States, and we're going to continue allowing this to happen at home. Oh, but the conservatives are blocking us. How about start being adults and being, grown-ups for the first time in your life, and stop putting poison pills in these bills, and let's start doing one-item bills. How about that? How about we just hey, we're going to tackle this, and that is it. No omnibus. No, hey, we're going to do this, but then also add this. None of that. Let's do pure good faith here, liberals. Let's just, whatever the headline of the bill is, that's what it's dealing with. How about that? We want to see that. No, we want to keep playing stupid partisan games in the House of Commons while our country is continuing to fall apart and lack of unity. That's what we want to see. At the same time, risking our largest free trade agreement that was established originally under Brian Mulroney. That's going to be the legacy of this Liberal Party. Is I know Canada was never perfect, but I do know that we were a lot more unified before Trudeau got in. A lot more unified. Now we're dealing with all these issues where you have the Bishnoi gang in BC just going ham and just extorting all these businesses, families, people. And again, it's from what we know and what we've seen, this is a move being pulled by India, I imagine, because of the Khalistani issue. Khalistanis are very prominent in BC, Alberta, and this is, I believe, and what I'm seeing is India using the Bishnoi gang as a proxy war to go after the Khalistanis. And that's what you're seeing, is they're going after these Khalistani communities in Surrey. And it's just this big battle taking place, and there's no control. No control from our Canadian officials, to the point the mayor has to call a state of emergency because they don't know how to do. This isn't Canada anymore, folks. We are now seeing foreign conflicts erupt on our soil, and we have these jabronis in Ottawa who think, going around, going to parties and, yucking it up with these different industry leads that, leads to no product or it leads to no solution is the way to go. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. Being here in Calgary for this convention will be fascinating. I'm sure there'll be a lot of the Conservatives are a big tent, and I think that at times people get uncomfortable with all the different viewpoints in the Conservative movement. Can't be uncomfortable. Have to be very comfortable being uncomfortable, having tough conversations. We all have different views on how things should be done. Where liberals, it's just you step in line, which is something is something they do, and but we need to have real conversations to be able to get to real results, and that's the reality that we're currently facing here. So I don't know where we go from here. I'm going to address the chat here and hit some super chats on what's currently going on, what your guys' perspective is. I'm going here to David Dorward. Already told us, not broke anymore. God bless David Dorward, man. Awesome. We love that. He said, next, -1-2 says, how is the quote, the world is changing and you should all be scared and I'm your only savior. A good speech. Feels like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Yeah, that's a fair statement. Fair point. Yeah. And then again, that word he uses, and he uses it in two big terms that Carney uses predictably. There's a hinge moment and there's a rupture. And you're hearing it from the other liberal MPs. That's the talking point going through the Liberal Party now. We're at a rupture. There's been a rupture in the world. We have to react. And you're basing your whole campaign off fear. And liberals will always come back and be like, whoa, conservatives do the same thing. Pierre Poilievre's all negative. He's all scary times. And I'm saying, I get where you're coming from, but I don't get it. Where Poilievre is just stating what's wrong and what the liberals' moves have done to lead to these said results. And then he says, this is what we could be doing. I don't understand how he's still seen as someone who, I mean, I get why, but it still frustrates me he's seen as someone who doesn't bring any solutions. I think the solutions are pretty clear. Let's do those things. They're pretty easy. But no, we're going to overcomplicate it and try to make ourselves sound elitist and say you're stupid. Okay. Kevin P. Taylor says, remember, a question was asked in QP about Klaus Schwab and the WEF infiltrating the government, and Donald Trump shut down QP, and they call it a conspiracy theory. Yes, I do remember that. That was back in the pandemic days. That happened. That was weird. Mr. Red Tory over here. Interesting. I don't know. Maybe it was a coincidence. That whole situation was a coincidence, but it was odd, wasn't it? John Gotti, T7N, says, GM Oshawa to lay off up to 1,200 workers on Friday. Union leader says he hopes premiers encourage feds to relentlessly pursue CUSMA renewal. Glad we are importing Chinese EVs, Carney. Let me see. Because I've been on the road, I'm kind of out of the loop a little bit in terms of the news. I'll lay off. Let's pull that up. Here we are 2 hours ago. Great call out. Let's do that. Let's pull that up for the folks. GM Canada lays off hit Oshawa plant, putting up to 1,200 auto workers out of work on Friday. Up to 1,200 workers throughout the auto supply chain are expected to complete their final shift on Friday as the company scales back its Canadian operations, according to the union president who represents them. GM Canada confirmed Thursday approximately 500 of those people are its employees. We did everything we could. We've made our arguments to General Motors, said Jeff Grave, Unifor Local 222 president, on Wednesday. GM is cutting one of 3 shifts at the plant. Seniority rules will apply, Gray said, meaning high seniority members will be bumped to the remaining shifts, while lower seniority members across all 3 shifts will lose their jobs, meaning the young people get screwed yet again. And then you wonder why the lower age demographics are just unilaterally moving towards harder conservative stances. Stuff like this, man. And again, what's the solution? Oh, Mark Carney gave a great speech in Davos. So cool. Is it? Was it cool? More people losing their jobs, man. But yeah, man, Davos was great. Davos was fantastic. Good call out there. I appreciate that. Mr. John Gotti, good call out. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate where things are going. I saw Jessica come in hot. She said, are you going to do any live streams at the conference? I will not be doing any live streaming at the convention. I will be doing updates, though. I will be keep tuned on YouTube. I'm going to be posting a lot of shorts this weekend. And if I get a chance to live stream, I'm going over today. Today's the first day. So I'm going over today to see what the vibe is and seeing where things are at and seeing what happens. I might live stream a few things. However, a lot of it's going to be like updated through shorts that I'm going to be like popping out for you guys. So that will be the focus. And Nylok says, glad you made it safe. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Yes, it'll be good, man. Friday and Saturday are going to be electric, man. It's going to be a good time. I'm seeing apparently let's pull up this freaking username. Nutty Kata Ja 666 just causing chaos to the point where Rhonda coming in hot says, if you don't like it here, you can always leave. Dude, I love the liberal trolls that come in and just start just causing chaos in the chats, dude. Shows that we're being very effective in what we're doing and that the show is growing and that the conservative movement is growing. It's awesome. I love to see it. A lot of people in the chat saying, we'll see you at the conference, see you at the conference. We have Joey Prefontaine, 8044 says, are you meeting up with the pleb and other content creators? Yes, we will be doing that Saturday event at, Ranchman's, that's what it's called? Yeah. That's where, we'll be there. So we will be doing that. And we'll see. I'm going to be running into a bunch today. Like last night, we all hung out, are people who got in early. So we all got in early, met up. And I'll say Kevin Tucker, Great Northern Discussions, hosting the homies in the best way he can. He's great. Picks the most expensive place I've ever been in my life. I was like, bro, what are we doing here? This place is swanky, unreal. I took out a month's money over here. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was he hosted us great. It was fantastic. He was awesome. And I was joking. The Guild was a nice place, though. It was a very beautiful place. But yeah, it was a good time. Michelle Rumpel Garner will be live streaming the convention. Yes, she will be. That will be happening. She'll be having a bunch of guests on, which will be really one of the new creators, Kelsey, who you saw in that photo, she's actually maybe her through the grapevine. She potentially might be going on with Michelle Rumpel Garner, which is really cool. A bunch of the influencers are going to be hopping on there. So that'll be awesome to see how that all goes. William Roble 6626 says, are you sad that Derek had pulled out of the event? No. No, that's his decision. He can do what he wants. I'm also not in the, I try not to get involved in all this creator drama, Alberta independence drama. If anyone knows me, I'm a unifier. I like to bring people together. I love to have good conversations. I love to hear both sides. Let's bring it together. I'm huge on that. And so, Derek is just gonna make his decision. I don't really know what the reasoning was, who talked to him, or this, that, the other. However, it's it's his decision. I'm okay with it though. I'm not sad. I'm not mad. I'm not whatever about it. His decision. It's all good. We're gonna be there. We're gonna meet some people. I think it's more so the fact that people listen to his show. It's just more so detriment to him because people who do watch his show, they want to meet him. You can disagree with the other creators that are there. There's some creators who may not like each other at this thing. That's okay. It's for you guys. We're going for you. This whole thing is for you guys. So I'm like, whatever. So be it. People can put their differences aside for an hour, 2 hours, and do this for the people who watch us. So that's what's important. Are you going to live stream the leadership review? I have to figure out what the rules are around it, but I will be doing something around it. 100%. Good question there, Jessica. Hyde Walton says, thanks, Josh. I despise drama between creators. You and I both. It's never fun. And so there's some good folks here. You guys are awesome. This has been a good live stream today. Going to be a little shorter than usual because, my family's strolling in right now. My little one is getting adjusted to this time change, and he's having a tough time. But we've been having a great chat today. I'm hoping I'll be back here live tomorrow before pre-convention and talk about the news and what's been happening. And it's going to be awesome, folks. But you guys are so awesome. Keep throwing in the chats. Let's see, Nylock says, that's why I'm coming on Saturday with some independence people. Show some goodwill. I think that's a great move out Nylock. I think that's a great move. I think it's really important for the independence movement and the Conservative Party to kind of, have some conversations. I think it's really important. I'm not really a huge proponent of like you guys versus us. Quebec has done that more than enough and doesn't really work out that great. Bueno Kitty 3497 says, Mark has a great strategy. He can't be judged by the price of groceries if he takes off the price stickers. Hashtag weasel. That's true. That's always a fun one for liberals. Anytime they're in a grocery store and they're talking about affordability, those prices immediately come off the food. Can't do that. Can't do that at all. Dang, people are lighting up Derek in the chat right now. Rest in peace to that brother. Rhonda CKC says, thank you for doing a live stream, Josh. Looking forward to all your posts about what is happening there. And then Appreciate it. Appreciate the content or the message, Rhonda. It's too early for me right now. I'm tired. Canada says, Josh, you have a good day with the family. We appreciate what you do for Canada. Really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. This is a great live chat, and it's surprising. We did fairly well. The chat's been great, holding steady for taking a day off yesterday, and we're doing awesome. And you guys have been great in the chat. Thank you, and also keep engaging. I'm doing something a little different today too. I'm actually, if anyone knows, there's a bit of a smaller channel, Unify Canada. Younger folks who are taken to the streets and going to university campuses across the country. They are here as well for the conference, and they are actually heading Mount Royal University, University of Calgary, to do debates with liberals. So I'll be joining them at some point today. We'll be creating some content, and the question is. Why China is a worse trading partner than America. And that's the point I'm going to be debating with university students today. So that video will be going out probably sometime next week. So it'll be a good time. So tune in on that show. We'll make sure to link it when it comes out. It'll be great. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have some good times. You guys are awesome. And okay, fine. Last question I'll answer here from Jessica. It was, how was the flight over there? Flight was great, man. We enjoyed it. It was little one was a little fussy, but he was as you can hear him now, he's a little fussy, but he did well. The flight staff was like, oh, he's the best baby. He was a great baby. No crying. They loved it. So it was awesome. Great times. I'll be back on here to get tomorrow morning with y'all. Keep a close eye on the YouTube channel as shorts will be posted throughout today. And tomorrow throughout the weekend of different things that are happening. I'm just going to give y'all updates, and it's going to be awesome. So you guys are great. Stay strong. Have yourselves a good one.